Hello friends, welcome back to Vitamin T, where biblical truth is essential for life change. My name is Jim Miller. What strange days these are. In my 50 years of life, I have never seen a pandemic up close and personal and observed firsthand the effects it can have on people. It seems like the entire globe is drenched in disinfectant to ward off infection. When we think of a pandemic, we often associate it with something that is far away from us. We think of it as having an effect on people and nations a great distance away from home. Not this one. This viral outbreak has immediate impact and has become very personal in nature. I was recently walking the halls of an independent senior living facility when I bumped into a housekeeping worker. She had her cart complete with cleaning supplies and was making her rounds to each room. She and I were the only ones in the halls, as residents were following the administration's guidance and remaining in their rooms during the virus outbreak. I offered a greeting and then inquired, "So, how are you doing?" And she said flatly, "I am scared." And I said, "What are you scared of?" And she replied, "Many things. You can't go to the mall, you can't go out with friends, my hours for my job are being cut, and I'm concerned about my family." Her face and tone conveyed a sense of dread. I commiserated with her for a while. I lamented with her that the social distancing policy across the nation, while regrettable, is a necessary evil. We must take whatever precautionary measures possible to limit the spread of the coronavirus so that the infection can die out. She agreed with a sigh, and then an idea occurred to me, and I compared the pandemic to riding out a storm. Think about being a resident of Florida during a hurricane. Depending on the storm's severity, people will hunker down and shelter in place. They will not go outside or conduct business as usual because it is not safe. Leaving your home is to raise the risk of injury or death. Our current course of action is to simply wait it out. We must place our trust in our national and state leadership, the Center of Disease Control, and local authorities, that the protocols they establish will work in its time. Her mood seemed to lighten, and she said that helped her think about this from a more positive outlook. We concluded our conversation and went our separate ways. After I left her, my mind was astir with this analogy of storms. In this life, we encounter storms of many kinds. We face financial storms with economic downturns that have serious implications as we attempt to make ends meet. We experience relational tornadoes that rip our lives to shreds. The tempests of terror attacks and the typhoons of traumatic accidents can unspool us to the core. These storms can be scary. They cause personal damage to us or our possessions. They threaten our very lives and those whom we love. When the storms arrive, they can terrify us. Their foreboding clouds, whirring winds, and pelting rain can send us running for cover. What do we do when these storms come? How can we weather the storm and cope with its damaging effects? Well, there is one important answer to these questions that can be found in a story. In 3 of the 4 Gospels, the story is told of Jesus' disciples leaving the safety of the shore and plotting a course across the Sea of Galilee. Within this story is a powerful principle that will furnish the inner fortitude we need to make it through. Here's the story as told by Matthew's Gospel, chapter 14, verses 23 to 27, from the NIV translation. Then he got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us! We're going to drown." He replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." Can you see the disciples' hysteria? They are scrambling to balance the boat, man the oars, and frantically scoop the buckets of water out as the waves keep pouring them in. What was a manageable squall morphed into a tempest of monstrous proportions that is winning the sink the boat challenge. Meanwhile, Jesus has taken a snooze. Imagine that. The Son of God is sound asleep with the disciples being sound awake. Finally, out of sheer desperation, they shake their master and rouse him from his slumber. I wonder if he was really sleeping or it just appeared that way. They undoubtedly yelled to be heard over the roar of the sea. "We can't do this. We need your help. Not sure what help you, a mere human being, can offer, but any assistance you could provide would be greatly appreciated, sir, because we're about to die." In verse 26, Jesus reveals their overall mood as being one of terror. When Jesus asks, "Why are you afraid?" a very specific word in the Greek language is used that uncovers something about the disciples specifically and human nature generally. The word in the Greek is delos. It means lacking courage and thereby displaying cowardice in the midst of challenge. The disciples, and by extension us, need a confidence boost, and they are about to receive the boost of their lives. Jesus rises and performs two miracles in one. One miracle is over nature, and the other is over people, his disciples. He first admonishes his disciples for their lack of faith in his identity. They knew he was a great teacher, could perform some amazing party tricks, but had no idea about his divine side. He then addressed the squall raging around them and dissolved it with a simple three-word phrase, "Peace, be still." This display of unparalleled power astonished his disciples. At first they were terrified that a man could possess such power. In time, they would come to see that the master of the sea was also the master of the human heart, the second miracle resulting from the first. I am a bit of an art enthusiast. I love how artists are able to envision a scene from the narrative and recreate a powerful visual for others to admire. The Dutch Golden Age painter Rembrandt van Rijn was just such an artist. In 1633, he produced an oil-on-canvas painting depicting the storm on the Sea of Galilee. It was preserved in the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston for some time until 1990. Sadly, that year robbers fenced the painting in what is known as the largest art heist in U.S. history. What is fascinating about this is how Rembrandt portrays the disciples' moods. A careful inspection reveals some disciples awash in a wave, another is tending the sail that is wildly flapping in the wind. Still others are looking to Jesus, who appears to be chilling out on the back of the boat and enjoying the natural theme park ride. This is a marvelous way for the author to paint the diversity in human personality. Look at the varied responses to danger. Some panic, some work hard to solve the problems, and some look to Jesus. What would you do? What do you do when the storms come? The principle I promised earlier is simply this. When difficulty raids us, when trials assault us, when challenges assail us, we need to remember Jesus is in the boat. Repeat it a couple of times. Jesus is in the boat. Another way to think about this is that Jesus is in the boat of our lives. The sea represents the uncertainty and vastness of this world, and our boats represent our very lives in the midst of this world. It is said that President John F. Kennedy had a plaque on his desk that read, "O God, thy sea is so great and my boat is so small." This serves as a stark reminder of the smallness of our lives in contrast to the size of this world around us. There is great news for those who claim Jesus as their Lord. Jesus is in the boat. We are not alone in this. He is fully cognizant that the affairs of this world and how they often arrive unexpectedly and threaten to swamp or sink us. Because he is in the boat of our lives, he has the capacity to quiet the thunderclaps overhead. He has the ability to calm the distressing seas of financial loss. He can quell the anxiety-inducing waves of tragedy, injury, loss of friends, and even global medical crises like pandemics. There is another important lesson to remember in all this. Sometimes God doesn't calm the storm. Sometimes he just calms his child. The storm that surrounds you does not have to be in you. It is possible to remain calm in the midst of chaos. It is possible to possess peace when engulfed by pandemonium, and it is possible to possess clarity in the midst of confusion. How do we do this? Just look at Jesus. Does he look panicked? Is he frantic and desperately clinging to life? He is not overwhelmed because he's the overcomer. Jesus is in the boat. He sees the same surroundings you do. He hears the same ferocious sounds you do. He feels the same mist and splash of circumstances that you do. He understands and he gets it. Yet look at him. In fact, he sees, hears, and understands far more than we do, which is why he is so confident. He feels, he sees through the hurricane to the eye. He hears the calm when the wind stops blowing, and he understands the outcome when all we understand is the present threat. Therefore, he is unruffled, he is secure. Because Jesus is in the boat, the source of our protection is alive and well, capable of calming us in the midst of life's storms. I am absolutely confident that we will weather the storm of this pandemic. It is only a matter of time before it blows over. Still, there are some salient questions that remain for us to answer. How well did we cope? Were we pleased with what we learned about ourselves? Are there areas of personal growth revealed to us during this storm that will help us when, inevitably, the next one arrives? For now, let us remember this central truth. Jesus is in the boat. Because of who Jesus is, we can and we will make it through. Let us call on him who is the author and perfecter of our faith. Let us cling to him for security, and may we learn the valuable lesson that no storm can conquer us because it cannot conquer the master. Jesus is in the boat, my friend. Jesus is the master of the storm. May he be the master of your life as well.